Hello everybody, we're going to take a look at the Adidas Adizero SL2 today. It is a daily trainer for sure, a big surprise from Adidas. A soft, friendly, very reactive shoe that's quite unique in their line. It gets some big changes from the prior version in that we have a full-length Light Strike Pro insert below the foot. You can see it peeking through the windows there, whereas before we only had it in the forefoot. I've taken them out for two nice runs here on the seacoast, one slow, one fast, and they are quite something. Very different from prior Adidas for me. Okay, let's dig into some of the details for the Adizero SL2. The first thing is it's nothing like the original SL, which was a very firm, light strike only shoe, good for about 5 miles. It was firm and fast, more almost like a racer. The SL1 has some similarities. I didn't personally test it, but the main difference is that Adidas has gone with a full layer of Light Strike Pro, as in their racing shoes. And you can see it poking through the outsole, the redesigned outsole here. Before, it was just a forefoot kind of insert. And this helps bring down the weight here because we come in at about 8.45 ounces, 240 grams in a US 9. And before we were about 9 ounces or 255 grams. That really helps the weight. The upper here is very simple. If there's a weak point to this shoe, I think it's the upper. The hold is decent, very decent, but this is a kind of a thin, not particularly supportive engineered mesh. There is a nice toe bumper. The heel hold is excellent. It's more the midfoot here. The tongue is adequately padded, but we have no gusset tongue. A bit of a surprise given how pliable we are, despite our big three-stripe overlays on both sides. And we have a flat sock liner. So there's a little bit of lack of hold through here, particularly on the medial side. So this is definitely a neutral shoe. However, you can lace them pretty tight. I got no lace bite for my medium to narrow feet. There's plenty of toe box room, and it stretched a bit with after the first run. So it's an okay upper, but the real magic here is underfoot, because this combination of a really quite soft light strike, usually light strike's very firm, plus our super reactive Light Strike Pro, and maybe I can squeeze that a bit so you can see it, gives you a really versatile ride here. I've taken them out twice. Once was super slow, a recovery run, and you'll hear in the commentary, I sort of conclude, well, it's sort of a easygoing recovery kind of shoe. Then the next run today was, and you'll hear my commentary there, was a progression. And when I got down into the 820 per mile pace, boy, did they start to react off the front in particular. You really feel that Light Strike Pro acting. Now, Adidas has really had kind of a gap, if you will, in terms of a daily trainer. Here, they answer the gap with a really versatile, any pace friendly shoe. If you think about it, you had the shoes such as the Boston 12, which replaced an 11, which replaced the earlier Boston, sort of a daily trainer in the Adizero line. Then you had the Supernovas, which were kind of lunky, the Adi Stars. They really didn't have sort of a all-around kind of more mellow daily trainer, or one that wasn't super heavy. Because here we come in at that 8.45 ounces, 240 grams, and we have a big stack height here, relatively big really, with 36 millimeter heel, 26 millimeter forefoot, a decently wide platform of 80 millimeter heel, 70 millimeter midfoot, 115 forefoot. What I like is they're more than sufficiently at the ground stable if the upper is a bit shaky, and they kept the platform relatively narrow through the midfoot and the heel, with a wide that's quite wide, 115 4-foot platform. So they really are quite agile while remaining decently stable for me as a neutral run. Let me show you the flex here. Lots of nice flex after 2 runs, and a bit of snap too. So you'll immediately probably say, hey, wait a minute, what about the Supernova Rise? Well, the Supernova Rise, and here it is right here, is a considerably heavier shoe. It comes in at 9.6 ounces, 274 grams US 9, so more than an ounce heavier. Similar stack height. It has the new Dream Strike supercritical foam. Now, Light Strike, regular Light Strike over here isn't a supercritical foam, but for sure the Light Strike Pro is. So the Dream Strike is a nice foam, but what Adidas has done here is this is definitely a more supportive upper. It's heavier, warmer, but it's really underfoot that you see the real big differences here. Let's try to line them up. You can see we have the yellow lines there. Those are the support rods. They're a hardened EVA kind of foam, a harder EVA foam. And you see all that extensive outsole rubber coverage, particularly at the heel. So what I feel here is the Rise is not nearly as decoupled as our SL2, and I found the heel kind of cumbersome to get past. More of a kind of a support neutral shoe here. Not as nearly as exciting a ride as what we have with our Adizero SL2. This is really one fine daily trainer. So let me take them out on the road and give you some impressions from my 2 runs. And during the run, I'll also give you some comparisons. You'll note that I say they're somewhat comparable to, say, the Mach 6 from Hoka, and the Rebel V4, and the new Asics Noosa Tri 16. Yes, all those shoes are a bit lighter at the same stack height, but this one just feels very, very well rounded all around for just about any kind of daily run. About probably the only place I wouldn't pick it is for, say, speed work or intervals. They certainly handled my recovery one well yesterday. So let's get into some of the impressions from the run. Coming by the harbor here. Well, Adidas says this is a daily trainer, the SL2. I agree, but I think in the Adizero line it may also be the recovery shoe, because this is a very mellow ride, quite energetic really. I can really feel Light Strike Pro in the center with the regular Light Strike, which I think is a softer variety than I'm used to in Light Strike as the carrier. Looks like we're at high tide. Most of the fishing boats are out. Gonna keep going. These are called the Rosa rugosa flowers. They pop up all along the coast here in bushes, you can see. Last winter, the storm blew through all of this. This was completely underwater, and the road was destroyed. There used to be a wall there. So we've got a nice energetic ride here. Wow, a lot of bounce. Kind of a rubbery bounce, plenty stable underfoot. I think the upper, though, doesn't quite have enough midfoot hold. There's no gusset tongue, and it's a flat sock liner. I think it could use a bit more hold at midfoot. So all this was totaled in the big storms. So we're having a nice run in our soft, friendly Adizero SL2. This is the softest Adidas that I can recall. Very soft, but with plenty of energy from the Light Strike Pro, but also that full, almost full outsole gives it some response, keeps things from bottoming out. Not really a speed shoe, more an easier run shoe, but you certainly can go fast in it because we're very light here. 8.25 ounces, 234 grams in my US 8.5 for a 36-26 stack height, which is really quite big. Pretty amazing. So we're in the general category of the Hoka Mach 6, A6 Noosa Tri 16 Rebel V4 from New Balance. But here we have a 10 millimeter drop versus 5 for those. In terms of the foam feel, I think this might be overall the softest, although the New Balance is very, very, very soft overall also. And the Noosa Tri is a bit more responsive, firmer, a bit racier feel. I like the 10 millimeter drop with a softer foam because it gives us enough to plunge forward if you're running slowly. As I said before, I think the outsole is particularly well done here with its chevron kind of pattern. Really helps stabilize the soft foam. In terms of the Mach, similar ride really, just more forefoot cushion. Another one I'm thinking of, heavier, considerably heavier, is the new Pegasus. Again, a softer, bouncier foam, but a thinner feeling forefoot, even if the drop and the stack is very similar, different geometry. Wow, check out the Rosa Rugosa. Sidewalk got kind of beat up here during our big storms. Beautiful, beautiful stretch here. Okay, I'm down in the 920 per mile. Gonna be picking it up some more, the 6 miler. So what I'm feeling increasingly is that as you pick up the pace, that central core of Light Strike Pro becomes more energetic, and then your outsole provides some pop off the road. So while I said it was a kind of a slow pace, kind of easygoing shoe, I think it really is what Adidas calls it, a daily trainer in the Adizero line, because it seems to handle all paces really well. Of course, I probably wouldn't do speed work in them. You know, you've got the Adios Boston 12 for your long runs, of course the racers, but as an all-arounder, it's really kind of amazing because Adidas really hasn't had a good all-arounder for me anyway since the earlier Bostons, and those were kind of low stack, a bit firm. This has that 36-26 forgiving foam. It's really, really fine. Okay, some conclusions on our SL2. Well, Adidas really surprised me here. I wasn't expecting to receive the shoe from them, didn't ask for it, but somehow they knew I might like it. Yes, it is definitely a daily trainer. It's a light daily trainer, really, at 8.45 ounces. For example, your Pegasus, let me look at my notes here. Your Pegasus is 9.9 ounces in a US 9. Here we're at about 8.45. So we have a light shoe, and that Pegasus actually is just a millimeter more of stack height. We have a light shoe, a 10 millimeter drop. I kind of like that for daily training, especially at slower paces. It's light. The foam is energetic. This outsole provides some of the response. In other words, keeps everything from bottoming out. You can see the foam is really bouncy and soft. Both types, the black Light Strike and the Pro. So it's really a great all-arounder. If there's a weakness, as I said before, it's maybe the upper and especially the midfoot. Maybe they had to save a few bucks there, given how great the platform is. I think it could use a little bit more midfoot support. Maybe a gusset tongue would help it. But this is really an outstanding addition to the Adidas line, Adizero and Adidas line, which was really lacking for me. Either the shoes were overly kind of elite focused, or they were heavy and kind of not really something I'd want to reach for every day. This is one I would. Nothing wrong with our Rise, Supernova Rise here, which in the lineup is more stable, if you will, not quite as exciting, maybe a little more kind of run-of-the-mill with its more extensive outsole for kind of stability, and those those support rods. But we're also going to have a full written review, hopefully multi-tester, of the $130 SL2 from Adidas in their Adizero line, one of the year's best. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great run.